Think about fire ants for a second. Professor Deby Cassill of the USF St. Petersburg campus thinks about fire ants a lot, it turns out. And she's come up with an interesting conclusion. She thinks they're a lot like us. Dr. Cassill explains in her own words.
It wasn't so much that I wanted to study ants as I actually wanted to study humans. Why we cooperate or when we cooperate and when we compete. And I couldn't do the experiments that I knew I needed to do with humans. It's illegal to set humans up in a situation like you survive or you die. So I moved to ants because in many, many respects, they have the same social structure that humans do. One of the things where humans and ants are the most similar is in the social structure, and it's a hierarchy. The queen is certainly the CEO. Every human institution has a leader. Might be temporary, but there's a leader. The queen dictates in a very general way what the goals are, and she does this through chemicals. And the workers, her daughters, their sterile daughters, will come over and lick and groom her, and they get the message from her. And then each individual kind of carries out that task or the job that needs to be done based on who they are, what mood they're in, what needs to be done right in front of them. What the ants do when they're taking care of their young is they wag their abdomen. There's no sound, there's no chemical, the stinger's not out, the venom's not there. It seems to me to be an indicator of pleasure. I'm taking care of my younger sister. The babies are in need, and I feel good about this. And each of us can identify that with that. So we set this experiment up. This is an artificial nest. This is some banana baby food. It's a little sticky. And we crushed up some oak leaves, and here we see an ant that is picking up the leaf and bringing it over to the edge of the food because they don't like to get their feet wet or sticky. So it's a type of tool use, and we're realizing that ants have a small brain, but they're able to do pretty much what we're able to do with our much larger brain: solve a problem. I don't recommend that you do this at home without supervision, but ants under stress, fire ants under stress, have these claws on their feet, and they grapple together to the point where I can throw these up and they hold together. And as long as I keep them stressed, they'll do this. But notice, once I quit stressing them, they start leaving the ball and searching for the horrible person who has put them through this torture. So what we do is we melt aluminum at 800 degrees, it becomes fluid, and we pour it down the mound of a fire ant nest, and it flows into all of the chambers. The ants were sacrificed for science. And our big question is, why don't they have one large chamber to house everyone in? Why do they divide their family of 100,000 daughters into these little tiny chambers connected by tunnels and shafts? One of the ideas is if one of the chambers is damaged, it doesn't affect all the other ants living in this very complex home. Any one of them could never work at all, and yet they do. They get up every morning and they work, and there is this biological imperative to go out and do something, and they get rewarded for it in the same way that we're rewarded, with a sense of pleasure and accomplishment.